Oh, this is the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. Wherever you may be listening, however you may be listening, whether on 860 AM WNOV or W293CX 106.5 through the social media apps, Simple Radio, the TuneIn app, the Simple Radio app, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com radio tab, or anywhere in between. We are live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Next to me is my wife, best friend, co-host, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
The WisconsinVegetableGardener.com is your destination for all things gardening. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, 845 videos, email, and a whole lot more. We're going to talk, to begin with, about mulch and the importance of mulch, the good mulch and the bad mulch, and what we would recommend, what we have used, and what we have found to work the best. Now, first of all, let's define, and I like to define these terms so we all have an understanding. So what is mulch?
So mulch is any type of material that is spread over the surface of a soil as a covering. It is used to retain moisture in the soil, suppress weeds, keep the soil cool, and make the garden bed look more attractive. Organic mulches also help improve soil's fertility as they decompose.
Now, mulch, again, as the definition states, it can be any material. So synthetic, organic, good, and bad. So we use mulch in our garden. We use a variety of different mulches. The majority of mulch is leaves from the fall. We'll clean the leaves out of the street, the ones that fall on the property, the neighbors on both sides of the garden. You'll see that. The primary garden that we video on our website is Holly's mother's backyard garden, about 1,800 square feet. We use leaves on both sides of the street. We go across the street. We clean it about half a block both ways. And we bring in about 40 to 50 40-gallon trash can fulls of leaves and mound on the garden because it's an incredible mulch. It breaks down, has such nutritional value, the leaves do. So that's one mulch that you can use. And right now that mulch, if you didn't save any from last year, is most likely gone. So that may not be an option for you. There are other options that are available right now that will work very, very well.
So one thing you could do is take some dried grass clippings. You just want to make sure those are chemical-free.
And weed seed free, which if you're mowing your grass regularly, you're not going to have seed pods on those grass stalks or stems.
You could use straw,
which is an easy material to get to. Straw is the byproduct of the grain. So if the farmer adjusted the combine correctly, which he should have because he's trying to get the grain to sell, it's just going to be mainly stalks. And you can find straw bales at Blue Mel's for a very reasonable price. Another one is pine needles.
Now, pine needles, some people think that they may add too much acid to your soil.
Acidity.
Yep, too much acidity. And that's not true. The pine needles, that's not true for the pine needles.
Pine needles are acidic on the tree, but by the time they break down, it takes so long for them to break down, they'll neutralize, and they work very well as a mulch. They'll last a very, very long time, several years. Another one is a compost, just regular compost. Now, I agree with this one, and I disagree with this one, because if you're adding compost regularly to your garden bed, let's say an inch a year, to a 4x4 raised bed or a traditional in-ground garden, you're still going to have that surface area which allows moisture to evaporate. I would recommend adding that compost, then putting something on top of that compost in order to hold that moisture in. The moisture held in, as well as slowing down the weed germination. The reason why weeds germinate, or unwanted seeds germinate, is moisture and warmth and sunlight. You have those three in combination, these weeds are going to germinate. If you can suppress the weeds by covering them with something, they're a lot less likely chance that they're going to sprout or have the strength in order to push through that mulch layer that you have on your garden.
Right. And then there's also shredded paper or cardboard. This is controversial because the ink could have soy in it and maybe possibly some of the tape or something or the glue from the cardboard.
It's not the most appealing. We've done it. It's worked well, but it does, you have to, wet it down. It does fly around. So that's something, you can keep in mind. It does work. We're going to do something called core gardening with shredded paper, and we'll explain more of that when that time comes in the garden. Another one.
But the thing about the paper is that you could do a thick layer of the shredded paper and cardboard and then cover it with something else if you don't like the way it looks.
Which we've done that.
Like a thin layer on top of it.
We've done that in the fall. We'll take shredded paper And instead of taking it to the recycling, we'll shred it up, put it on the ground, and then cover it with about a foot of leaves. And then by spring, it's all disappeared anyway. Another way you can mulch is by taking about 4 to 6 layers of wet newspaper, laying it down, and then putting a additional mulch on top of it, dry grass clippings, shredded leaves, a straw, and that adds as an additional barrier. And then whenever you plant, you just cut your hole or tear the paper around and then go that way.
So one thing, there's a few you want to avoid, especially in a vegetable
In a
garden.
vegetable garden.
This is something that you could do in a flower garden or a shrub bed or whatever.
Perennial bed.
Right. So one thing you want to avoid is bark or wood chips. And the reason for that being is as they break down over time, they may hold in the moisture very well, but they're going to deplete nutrients from the soil. And so
now bark is or shredded wood is used in the back to Eden method of gardening, where you put a significant layer of wood chips on top of an area that you're going to plant 3 to 5 years from now, and over those 3 to 5 years it breaks down and feeds the soil, and then there is that nutrients or that nitrogen level balances out and everything works
well, that's different.
Right, that's different. But
most of the time when people are trying to mulch, they're trying to look for an immediate solution.
Right. And you don't want to use bark because on trees have bark. And what is the main purpose of bark on a tree?
It's basically the skin of the tree.
And to repel water.
Right.
So you're putting something on the ground to repel water to prevent moisture. It's kind of the backwards thinking here. But anyway, continue.
Okay, so then there's cocoa shell mulch, and that's...
Dogs are attracted to that.
Dogs are attracted to
it gets moldy, and that's the reason why I put that on the do not use list on anything, because it has a chocolate smell to it.
Rocks in vegetable gardens.
Do not mix.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. We didn't mention in the good mulch was sand, and that's a little bit. You have to be kind of careful with that too. It could be okay in a container.
In a container, we've done that with a container with zucchini in a container, and it works very well because when you go to the beach, you go to Lake Michigan, what happens when you pull back that first couple inches of sand? It's moist. Works very well. But again, you don't want to mix too much sand in your soil because then it gets very loose and drainage problems and the whole deal.
Right. And so then it says weed fabric.
That's a big, you don't want to get into too big of a fist fight with a gardener who wants to use landscape fabric or the plastic alternative. Many commercial organic farmers will use that in order to suppress the weeds on large agricultural organic farms. It can go either way. Some of this plastic now will break down in 3 to 5 years, and it's organic or more organic than previous plastics, but I just avoid that altogether. There's so many more natural ways in order to use mulch to feed your soil than putting plastic on top of it. That's just
But if it works for you, it works for you.
Right.
And then shredded rubber.
Rubber tires, we've all seen this on playgrounds. It just doesn't look good. It's not good. There's better ways to go with mulching in your vegetable garden than using rubber tires. Even though there's no scientific proof that the rubber chemical leaches into the soil. Again, remember, in a vegetable garden, you're going to be planting this year after year, and whatever you add to it, if it's a natural material like shredded leaves or grass clippings or straw, that can be mixed into the soil. It will break down, feed the soil. Rocks, dry shredded rubber, that type of thing, it doesn't break down in the soil. It's going to stay there for eons. So we want to keep that in mind when it comes to mulch. And any type of mulch. We highly recommend mulch. We didn't mulch for about 2 years, 3 years maybe. Then we came up and we learned as we went. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to start gardening. We know everything. So we started mulching with leaves. And we have found that to be the most incredible mulch of any type. I mean, mulch of any type is important because it's going to slow down how much water you have to use. So if you're using municipal water, you're saving money there. It's going to save on weeds, saves on weeding. So you're going to be happier as a gardener there. And it can look better too.
Right. And leaves are... When they come off the tree, trees get nutrients from way deep down in the soil, and they put that into the leaves. So they're just adding really good nutrients to your garden.
Right, and wood chips we want to avoid. If you're going to use wood chips in like a perennial, like maybe an asparagus bed, okay, that's fine. You can work with that. You want to avoid that in vegetable beds for another reason is because wood chips can, based on the tree that it come from, if the tree died of a disease, wood chips can, after 1 year or multiple years after being shredded, can still harbor that disease. And some of those diseases are deadly to broadleaf plants like tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers. So keep that in mind. If you're in the Milwaukee or surrounding areas, just tune your radio to 860 AM or FM 106.5. You can also find links on our Facebook pages, The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener and Home Canning. Our website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, click on the radio tab at the top of the page, then click on the Listen Live button, and you'll have immediately access to our live program. Mobile devices work very well also. Go to your app store and download for free the TuneIn app or the Simple Radio app. Then search WNOV 860, save it to your favorites, and you can have access to our radio show live wherever you're at in the world. Our radio program will also have podcast replay under the radio tab several days following the live broadcast. You can find all of these links in the show notes below. Our show airs 9 to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time every Saturday, March through the end of October. And we want to thank our sponsors, because without them, this would not be anywhere possible. You can find all of their links under the radio tab on our website at thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.